She threw me on the street the day after my son's funeral, claiming the house was hers now. At the will reading, she laughed. Hope you enjoy being homeless, because I made sure you get nothing. Then the lawyer said there's one final section. When he announced my net worth, she fainted. If you're watching this, subscribe and let me know where you're watching from. Hit that like button if you enjoy stories about karma. Let me tell you how this started. Because sometimes the best revenge is just letting people reveal exactly who they really are. My name's Robert Garrison, I'm 68 years old, and this is about the day I learned that blood really is thicker than water. The call came at 3:30 a.m. on a Wednesday. Michael's foreman on the other end, voice shaking like a leaf. Mr. Garrison, there's been an accident on the job site. Crane malfunction. Michael's. He couldn't finish the sentence. I knew right then. After 40 years in engineering, you learn to read the silence between words. By the time I got to the hospital, my 50-year-old son was gone. Massive head trauma. The doctor said with that clinical detachment they teach in medical school. Nothing they could do. One minute he's running his construction crew like he'd done for 15 years. Next minute he's lying under a sheet in some sterile room that smells like disinfectant and broken dreams. Stephanie stood there in the waiting room, playing the grieving widow for the nurses, but I caught something in her eyes when she thought nobody was looking, relief. Like she'd just won the lottery instead of lost her husband. That should have been my first red flag, but grief makes you stupid sometimes. Makes you hope people will surprise you in good ways instead of bad. What happens now? I asked, still trying to wrap my head around the fact that Michael was really gone, my only child. The boy I'd taught to use a level, to measure twice and cut once, to take pride in honest work. She straightened up like a soldier getting orders. Now we deal with reality, Robert. Michael's gone, and I have decisions to make. The way she said decisions made my skin crawl. Cold as a January morning in Minnesota. See, I'd been living with them for 3 years ever since my Martha passed. Cancer took her slow and mean. Michael insisted I move in after the funeral. Dad, you taught me everything about building. Now let me take care of you. Good kid. Always was. Had his grandfather's hands and his grandmother's heart. Built that little addition just for me. Bedroom, bathroom, even a workshop in the garage where we'd spend weekends fixing things and talking about life. But Stephanie, different story entirely. We'd never clicked. Her and me. Oil and water from day one. She was all about appearances, keeping up with the neighbors, making sure everything looked perfect from the outside. Michael was the bridge between us, always smoothing things over when she made one of her little comments about extra mouths to feed, or people who don't contribute enough. Now that bridge was gone, and I was starting to see just how deep that water really was. Of course, dear, I said, trying to keep the peace like I always did. We'll get through this together. That's what families do. She pulled her hand away when I reached for it, actually recoiled like I had something contagious. We'll see about that. Should have listened to my gut right then. But when you're 68 and just lost your only child, you don't think straight. You hope people will do right by you because it's the decent thing, because that's how you were raised. That's your first mistake. The funeral took 3 days to arrange. Michael had a lot of friends in construction, guys who'd worked with him for years. Suppliers who trusted his word. Clients who knew he'd never cut corners. I offered to help pay for everything. Michael was my boy after all, and I had some savings put aside, but Stephanie shut me down fast. I'm his wife, she kept saying, like that settled everything. I know what he would have wanted. Fine by me. I focused on writing his eulogy and calling his crew. These guys were taking it hard. Michael wasn't just their boss. He was the kind of leader who'd work alongside them, who knew their kids' names, who'd loan money when times got tough. The night before the service, I'm sitting in Michael's workshop in the garage, looking at all his tools, the level I gave him for his first job out of high school. The circular saw he bought me last Christmas because mine was getting dull. The workbench we'd built together when he was 16, teaching him about mortise and tenon joints, about taking your time to do things right. That's when I noticed something weird. Half his personal stuff was already boxed up. Tools he used every day, photographs from job sites, even the coffee mug I'd gotten him that said "World's Best Son." When did that happen? Who goes through a dead man's things before he's even in the ground? Stephanie showed up in the doorway while I'm sitting there trying to make sense of it all. No more fake tears now. Just those calculating eyes like she's figuring square footage on a new project. We need to talk, Robert. The funeral went smooth enough. Michael had earned respect in the construction community. Salt of the earth guys who knew quality work when they saw it. But while I'm shaking hands with his crew and accepting condolences from clients, I kept hearing bits of conversation that didn't sit right. I'm standing with Tommy Kowalski, Michael's longtime electrician, when I hear Stephanie talking to her sister near the parking lot. Voice low, but not low enough for someone who'd spent decades on construction sites where you learn to listen for trouble. Life insurance covers the mortgage for 3 years easy. She's saying, checking over her shoulder like she's discussing classified information. And without the extra expenses, what about Robert? Her sister Karen asks. Where will he go? Stephanie's laugh made my blood freeze. Sharp little sound like glass breaking on concrete. That's not my problem anymore. He's a grown man. He can figure it out like any other adult. I've done my duty. Tommy must have seen the look on my face because he gripped my arm. You okay, Mr. G? I nodded, but my mind was racing. Extra expenses, that's what I was to her. Not family. Not the man who'd co-signed their mortgage when the bank wouldn't approve them for the full amount. Not the guy who'd been kicking in $800 every month from his pension to help with utilities and groceries. Just an extra expense that needed cutting. After the last guest left, Stephanie cornered me in the kitchen. Door closed, game face on, like she's about to negotiate a business deal instead of talking to her dead husband's father. I'm going to be straight with you, she said, like she's doing me some kind of favor. This house is in Michael's name. That makes it mine now. I need space to grieve without complications. Complications? I kept my voice steady, but my hands were starting to shake. Not from fear, from anger that was building like pressure in a boiler. You living here, Robert? It's not working anymore. I need my privacy to process everything that's happened. Hit me like a sledgehammer to the chest. Here I am, still wearing my funeral suit, and she's talking about kicking me out like I'm some tenant behind on rent. Stephanie, I understand you're hurting, I said, trying to find some reasonable ground to stand on, but surely we can work something out. I've been helping with expenses, and this is a big house. We don't have to get in each other's way, no. She cut me off like I'm some door-to-door salesman, wasting her time. I've made my decision. You have until tomorrow evening to pack up. That should be plenty of time for someone with your limited possessions. The way she said, limited possessions, told me everything I needed to know. In her mind, I was already nobody, just an old man with nothing to offer. I stared at her, looking for any trace of the woman who used to call me Dad at Christmas dinner. The one who'd cried when Michael proposed, who'd hugged me when Martha died and said I'd always have a place in their family, that woman was gone. This was someone else wearing her face. Where exactly am I supposed to go? She shrugged. Actually shrugged, like we're talking about the weather. You're 68 years old, Robert. You've been around the block. Figure it out. Maybe one of those senior communities you're always talking about. I wasn't always talking about senior communities. That was her bringing them up every few months, little hints about how nice they were. How much easier it would be for everyone if I had people my own age to talk to. Michael would be ashamed of this conversation. Her eyes went flat as concrete. Michael's dead. The sooner you accept that reality and stop living in the past, the better off we'll both be. So I packed. 68 years of living crammed into 6 boxes and 3 suitcases. My work clothes that still smelled like machine oil. Martha's china that we'd gotten for our wedding. The photo albums Stephanie had already moved to make room for her interior decorating magazines. My tools, the good ones Michael hadn't already boxed up. Kept waiting for her to come upstairs and apologize. Say she was just upset and didn't mean any of it. Say I could stay until I found somewhere decent to go, because that's what decent people do. They don't throw elderly family members out on the street the day after a funeral. Never happened. Instead, I kept hearing her on the phone downstairs, calling people, making plans, her voice getting lighter and more excited as the hours passed, like she was planning a vacation instead of disposing of unwanted furniture. 6 o'clock sharp the next evening, there she was in my doorway, arms crossed like a bouncer at some downtown bar, hair done, makeup perfect, wearing a dress that probably cost more than I spent on groceries in a month. Time's up, Robert. I closed the last box, filled with Martha's quilting supplies that I couldn't bear to throw away, and looked around the room that had been my refuge for 3 years. The walls were bare now, stripped of the few photographs I'd been allowed to hang. Pictures of Michael graduating high school, of him and me building that deck behind the house, of Martha holding our grandson at last year's Christmas dinner. It looked like a hotel room again. Generic and empty, which I suppose it always had been in Stephanie's mind. I'll need a few more minutes to get everything to the truck, I said. I'll help you. Wasn't an offer, was a statement. She wanted me gone, and she wanted to make sure it happened fast and final. We made 4 trips in complete silence. She carried the lighter boxes with the tips of her fingers, like she might catch something from touching my belongings. Watched me load every item into my truck bed, probably making mental notes to ensure I wasn't taking anything that belonged to the estate. As I'm closing the tailgate, I tried one last time. Maybe to salvage some dignity, maybe to understand how things had gone so wrong so fast. "I know you're angry with me for some reason," I said quietly. "I wish I knew what I'd done wrong so I could fix it. Michael always said family was everything." Her expression didn't soften one bit. If anything, it got harder. "You didn't do anything wrong, Robert. You just exist in my space, in my life, in my plans. Michael felt sorry for you after Martha died, but I don't. I never did. That was it. Clean and simple. No point in sugarcoating anymore." She'd been tolerating me for 3 years, waiting for this moment when she could finally be honest about what I really meant to her. "Nothing." "I see," I said, getting into my truck. "Will there be a formal reading of Michael's will?" "I assume he left some instructions about his affairs." She looked at me like I'd asked for the deed to the White House. "Why would he leave you anything? You're not his wife. It's not like you ever contributed anything meaningful to this household anyway." The irony would have been funny if it wasn't so damn sad. Here I am, $85,000 in the hole for their mortgage, cosign, and $800 poorer every month for 3 years, and she's telling me I never contributed. Either she'd forgotten real quick, or she'd convinced herself it was all charity from the beginning. "Right," I said, starting the engine. Silly me to think otherwise. I drove away without looking back, heading toward the extended stay on Highway 7. Only place I could afford while I figured out what came next. In my rearview mirror, I watched Stephanie stand in that driveway until my truck disappeared around the corner, probably making sure I was really gone for good. At the extended stay, I checked in for a week and carried my boxes to room 237. Generic beige walls, polyester bedspread that probably hadn't been changed since the Clinton administration, and a mirror above the dresser that showed every one of my 68 years. The whole place smelled like industrial cleaning products and other people's disappointments. I sat on that uncomfortable chair and stared at my reflection. Who was this man looking back at me? A widower, now childless, homeless, and apparently worthless in the eyes of the only family he had left. 3 years ago I had a wife, a son, and a place where I belonged. Now I had a room that charged by the week and a checking account that was bleeding money faster than I could stanch it. But sitting there in that sterile room, something unexpected started stirring in my chest. Not despair, though there was plenty of that. Something else. Something that felt like the moment when you're working on a complicated engineering problem and you can feel the solution coming, even if you can't see it yet. Stephanie thought she'd won. Thought she'd successfully discarded the inconvenient father-in-law and claimed her prize. What she didn't understand was that she'd raised a flag I couldn't ignore. Michael wasn't the type to leave loose ends. 30 years in construction had taught him to plan for contingencies, to think 3 steps ahead. 2 weeks into my hotel stay, just as I was starting to seriously worry about my savings running out, the phone rang. Unknown in number, but the voice was familiar. "Mr. Garrison? This is Charles Wilson from Wilson & Associates. I handled your son's legal affairs." "Yeah, I remember you from the house closing a few years back." Professional guy, probably mid-60s, the kind of lawyer who still wore actual ties and believed in doing right by his clients. "I need to inform you that the probate process is complete. There'll be a formal reading of Michael's will next Tuesday at 2 p.m. in my office. Your presence is required." Required. That was interesting phrasing. "I think there might be some confusion, Mr. Wilson." Stephanie seemed pretty convinced that Michael wouldn't have Mr. Garrison. He cut in, gentle but firm as a good engineer's measurement. "I can only tell you what the will specifies, and it specifically names you as a beneficiary. I'll see you Tuesday at 2 p.m. After he hung up, I stared at my phone for a long minute. Michael had left me something. Probably his grandfather's tools, or maybe some fishing gear we'd used together. Stephanie wasn't going to like it, but that was Michael's decision to make, not hers. I spent that weekend doing something I hadn't done in weeks: planning. Looked at apartments online, senior communities, even some small houses within my budget range. Whatever Michael had left me, it would help with the transition. Maybe enough for first month's rent and a security deposit somewhere decent. Tuesday afternoon at 1:45, I'm sitting in Wilson's parking lot, watching Stephanie climb out of her BMW black dress that probably cost more than most people make in a week, pearls that caught the afternoon light just so. She'd brought backup. Some guy in an expensive suit who kept checking his phone like he had somewhere more important to be. When I walked into the reception area, Stephanie's face shifted through about 3 different expressions before settling on irritated confusion. "What's he doing here?" she demanded of the receptionist, like I'm some party crasher who wandered in off the street. "Mr. Garrison is here for the will reading," the young woman replied, professional as fresh paint. "Which Mr. Garrison?" Stephanie's voice climbed half an octave. "There's only one Mr. Garrison here today, ma'am." The guy in the suit turned out to be Timothy Rodriguez, Stephanie's brother, corporate lawyer type who probably charged $50 an hour to tell people things they already knew. He whispered something in her ear that made her nod and take a seat across the waiting room from me. Fine by me. I'd waited 2 weeks for this moment. I could wait 2 more minutes. Wilson appeared right at 2 p.m. and ushered us into his office. Wood paneling law books that looked like they'd actually been read, family photos on the desk. The kind of office that said this man took his responsibilities seriously. "Ladies and gentlemen," he began, settling behind his mahogany desk with Michael's files spread out in front of him. "I know this is a difficult time, but Michael was very specific about his wishes. I'll read the will in its entirety, and then we can address any questions." Stephanie sat forward eagerly, hands clasped in her lap like she's waiting for Christmas morning to officially begin. Timothy had his legal pad out, gold pen ready to take notes on whatever windfall was about to come his sister's way. I just folded my hands and waited to see what my son had been thinking in those final months. The first part went exactly like I'd expected. Stephanie inherited the house, the cars, Michael's retirement accounts, his life insurance policy. Each item got read off like a grocery list, and she nodded approvingly at every one. A couple of times she glanced my way with this satisfied little smile, like she's winning a game I didn't even know we were playing. Then Wilson's voice changed. Got that careful tone lawyers use when they're about to drop a bomb and want to make sure everyone hears the explosion clearly. However, there is one final provision that Michael added to this will approximately 4 months ago. The atmosphere in that room shifted like weather before a storm. Stephanie stopped her approving nods and leaned forward, eyes sharp with sudden attention. Timothy put down his gold pen and sat up straighter. I found myself holding my breath without quite knowing why. Wilson cleared his throat and continued reading in that measured lawyer voice. "To my father, Robert Garrison, who co-signed our mortgage when banks wouldn't approve us and who has never asked for repayment, I leave the contents of Safety Deposit Box 4042 at First National Bank, along with all associated documentation and account information contained therein." The silence that followed was so complete I could hear the air conditioning cycling on in another part of the building. "What safety deposit box?" Stephanie's voice cracked like a whip in that quiet office. Michael never mentioned any safety deposit box to me. Wilson looked up from the legal documents, adjusting his wire-rimmed glasses. Apparently, it was something he maintained privately. He was quite specific that the contents should go to his father. I was as surprised as anyone in that room. Michael had never said a word to me about any safety deposit box. What could he possibly have stored there that was meant for me? "What's in it?" Timothy asked, his corporate lawyer instincts kicking into high gear. "I have no idea," Wilson replied honestly. Michael simply provided the bank information and access instructions for Mr. Robert Garrison. That's all I was told to facilitate. Stephanie's face was flushing red now, anger replacing her earlier satisfaction. "This is completely ridiculous. If there's anything of value in that box, it should be part of the marital estate. We need to contest this immediately." "You're certainly free to pursue that option," Wilson said, calm as a lake on Sunday morning. "But I have to tell you, the provision is very clear and legally sound. Michael was completely competent when he added this to his will, and I personally witnessed the document. When exactly did he make this addition?" I asked, my engineering mind wanting to understand the timeline. Wilson consulted his notes. January 20th of this year, he came in specifically to add this provision, said it was important that it be handled correctly. January 20th. I remembered that date clearly now. It was the day after we'd had that family dinner where Stephanie had made several cutting remarks about people not pulling their own weight and deadweight around the house. Michael had been unusually quiet afterward, spending most of the evening in his workshop. "This is a complete waste of everyone's time," Stephanie snapped, shooting to her feet like she'd been launched from a catapult. "Timothy, we're leaving." "We'll file papers to contest this tomorrow morning, actually," Wilson said, reaching into his desk drawer. "Before you leave, I need to give Mr. Garrison the materials Michael left for accessing the box. He wanted this handled promptly. He handed me a sealed manila envelope. These are the bank documents and Michael's personal key. First National will need to verify the death certificate and process some paperwork before you can access the box. Usually takes about 3 business days. Stephanie's eyes locked onto that envelope like a hawk spotting movement in tall grass. "I'm coming to the bank with you, Robert." "As Michael's widow, I have every right to be present. I'm afraid that's not possible," Wilson interjected smoothly. "The safety deposit box access is specifically restricted to Mr. Robert Garrison only. That's bank policy when there's a sole authorized user. This is absolutely insane." Stephanie practically shrieked. "How do we even know there's anything valuable in there? It could be completely empty, just sentimental junk." I stood up slowly, clutching that envelope like it contained the deed to Fort Knox. "Well, I suppose we'll find out soon enough." As we filed out of Wilson's office, I could feel Stephanie's laser stare burning a hole in my back. In the parking lot, she intercepted me beside my truck, her BMW blocking my exit route. "Robert, let's be reasonable adults about this situation." Her voice had switched to that fake sweet tone she used when she wanted something. "Whatever Michael put in that box, we should share it as a family. He would have wanted his wife to benefit from anything he left behind." For the first time in weeks, I almost smiled. "That's interesting, Stephanie. Yesterday you were convinced Michael wouldn't leave me anything at all. Now suddenly you're worried about fair sharing. I'm just trying to be practical here. You're trying to get access to something that doesn't belong to you." I unlocked my truck door. But Michael was very specific about his wishes. Her mask dropped completely then, revealing the cold calculation I'd seen glimpses of for years. "Don't forget something important, old man. You're homeless. You need my goodwill more than I need yours." I paused with my hand on the door handle and looked at her directly. "Actually, Stephanie, I don't think I need anything from you. Not anymore." 3 business days later, after providing the death certificate and completing First National's paperwork, I finally stood before safety deposit box 442. Jennifer Martinez, the bank manager, had personally handled my case. Professional woman, probably early 50s, who treated me with the respect Stephanie never had. "Box 442 is one of our larger units," she explained as we walked through the security doors. "Your son rented it about 3 years ago and visited quite regularly, usually once a month. 3 years. Michael had been planning something substantial for 3 years, right under all our noses. Martinez used her master key while I inserted Michael's personal key. The box slid out smooth as silk, heavy as a toolbox full of quality equipment, about the size of a briefcase but with serious weight to it. "Take all the time you need," Martinez said, showing me to a private viewing room. "I'll be at my desk when you're finished." Alone in that small windowless room, I lifted the lid of the safety deposit box. The first thing I saw was a letter addressed to me in Michael's careful handwriting, the same neat script he'd used since high school shop class. My hands trembled as I opened it. "Dad," it began, "if you're reading this, then I'm gone. And Stephanie has probably shown you exactly who she really is underneath all that charm. I'm sorry you had to see it, but I'm not surprised. I've known for years what kind of person I married, and I've been preparing for this possibility." My heart started pounding so hard I could hear it echoing off the walls. "You co-signed our mortgage for $85,000 when the bank wouldn't approve us for the full amount. I know you did it to help family and you never asked for anything in return. I've been investing that money for the past 3 years, adding to it whenever possible. What's in these accounts isn't just repayment, it's what careful planning and compound interest can accomplish." I set the letter down with hands that wouldn't stop shaking and looked at the documents underneath. Bank statements, investment portfolios, account numbers written in Michael's precise engineering notation. My eyes scanned the balance sheets, trying to process the numbers dancing in front of me. $160,000, spread across various investment accounts, all in my name, all accessible with proper documentation. I picked up Michael's letter again, hardly believing what I was reading. "Stephanie likes to tell people that you contribute nothing to our household. What she conveniently forgets to mention is that your $800 monthly pension contribution has been going into a separate savings account I set up. All documented, all tracked, all saved for exactly this moment." The letter continued. "I've been saving everything, Dad. Every email where she calls you a burden. Every text message where she jokes about the old man. Every conversation where she talks about getting rid of you. It's all in the folder marked evidence. I thought you should know what kind of person has been living in our house." I found the folder he mentioned. Printed emails, text message screenshots, even photographs of credit card statements. Years of Stephanie's manipulation and cruelty, all carefully documented like Michael was building a legal case. The final paragraph made my vision blur with tears I hadn't expected. You deserve so much better than the treatment you've received. Take this money and build yourself a life where nobody can make you feel unwanted ever again. And Dad, don't tell Stephanie about any of this until you're safely established somewhere else. You taught me to measure twice and cut once. I measured everything carefully. All my love, Michael. I sat in that little room for nearly an hour, reading through every piece of evidence my son had compiled. By the time I emerged, I understood exactly what kind of person had been sharing our dinner table for years. Martinez helped me arrange the account transfers and explained how to access everything electronically. As I walked to my truck, my phone was already ringing. Robert? Stephanie's voice, sweet as poisoned honey. I was wondering if you'd like to come by the house for lunch today. We could discuss what you discovered in that box. I looked at my reflection in the truck window and smiled for the first time in weeks. That's very generous of you, Stephanie. I'll be there at noon. Time for Stephanie to learn what happens when you underestimate a 68-year-old engineer whose son was smarter than she'd ever imagined. The confrontation that followed was everything I'd hoped for and more. Watching Stephanie's face when I showed her the evidence, seeing her realize that Michael had documented everything, witnessing her complete breakdown when she learned about the $160,000, it was justice served exactly when it was needed most. But the real gift wasn't the money, substantial as it was. The real gift was knowing that Michael had seen through her act completely, that my son had protected me even after death, that the values Martha and I had raised him with, honesty, planning ahead, taking care of family, had stuck with him until the very end. 6 months later, I'm settled in a nice little house across town. Nothing fancy, but it's mine, paid for in cash. I've got a workshop in the basement where I build furniture for the local church. Sometimes Michael's old crew stops by to share a beer and swap stories about their boss who always looked out for his people. Stephanie? Last I heard, she'd burned through most of the life insurance money trying to maintain that lifestyle Michael had never actually been able to afford. Turns out when you're used to spending other people's money, it's hard to adjust when the well runs dry. Listen, if you're watching this and you've got elderly family members, pay attention to how people treat them when they think nobody's looking. Real character shows up in how you handle people who can't do anything for you anymore. And if you're getting older yourself, remember what Michael taught me. Document everything, plan for contingencies, and never underestimate the power of measuring twice before you cut. Michael always said the best revenge is a life well lived. Turns out he was right about that too. Thanks for listening, and remember, family isn't just about blood. It's about who shows up when it matters most.